the moment she leaned forward and said, "Before we start, there's something you should know." Elias felt the air around the small cafe table grow strangely heavy. It wasn't the kind of sentence people open the blind date with. His mind instantly filled with possibilities. Maybe she had a boyfriend. Maybe she was leaving the city tomorrow. Maybe this was some elaborate prank. But the way her fingers trembled slightly around the warm coffee cup told him this wasn't casual. Whatever she was about to say mattered deeply.
You're watching SK Stories, where powerful stories of kindness, courage, and second chances remind us that even a small act of compassion can change someone's life. If you believe kindness still matters, hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs it today, comment below, and subscribe to SK Stories for more inspiring stories.
Like the pause before a storm, Elias had agreed to this blind date reluctantly. After a painful breakup nearly 2 years earlier, he had promised himself he wouldn't rush into anything again. His sister Marissa, however, had insisted he meet someone she described as different. She said the woman had a story that would change the way he looked at life. Elias had laughed at the time, assuming Marissa was exaggerating as usual. But now, sitting across from this elegant stranger with deep, thoughtful eyes and a quiet intensity, he began to suspect his sister hadn't been exaggerating at all. Her name was Serafina Vale. She had arrived exactly on time, wearing a soft beige dress that moved gently in the breeze. Her long dark hair framed a face that seemed both strong and fragile at the same time. But what struck Elias most wasn't her beauty, it was the seriousness in her eyes, as if she had already lived through something most people couldn't imagine. Now, as she took a slow breath, Elias realized she was gathering courage. The world around them continued as normal. Yet for some reason Elias felt like everything had narrowed to this moment. Serafina looked down briefly at the small vase of white flowers between them. Then she looked up again, meeting his eyes with surprising steadiness. She told him that most people who agreed to meet her didn't stay long after hearing what she was about to say. Some became awkward. Others suddenly remembered they had somewhere else to be. A few tried to be polite but clearly didn't know how to respond. She explained that she believed honesty was the only fair way to begin anything real. If someone was going to walk away, it was better they did it immediately rather than weeks or months later. Elias felt curiosity rising inside him. Her words carried a quiet weight, but also dignity. Then she told him the truth. 3 years earlier, Serafina had been diagnosed with a rare heart condition. It wasn't something obvious. She looked healthy, she lived normally, she worked, she laughed, she traveled. But the doctors had made one thing painfully clear: her heart could fail without warning. It might happen in 10 years, or 10 months. No one knew. For a moment, the sound of the cafe seemed to fade. Elias stared at her, absorbing the gravity of what she had just shared. Serafina explained that she had spent months deciding whether she should even date at all. She hated the idea of building something beautiful only for it to end suddenly. She hated the thought of someone falling in love with her and then losing her. So she had made a promise to herself. Every person she met would know the truth from the very beginning. No secrets, no illusions, just honesty. Elias noticed the way she said it, not with self-pity, but with quiet strength. She wasn't asking for sympathy. She was simply telling him who she was. He leaned back slightly, letting the information settle in his mind. For a brief moment, fear flickered inside him. The future suddenly seemed uncertain in a way most relationships never feel at the start. But something else stirred inside him, to something deeper: respect. Serafina had chosen courage over comfort. Instead of hiding behind small talk and pretending life was guaranteed, she had placed her vulnerability directly on the table. Most people avoided conversations about mortality their entire lives. She faced it on a first date. As the minutes passed, Elias realized something surprising. He didn't feel like leaving. Instead, he found himself wanting to know more. Serafina continued speaking gently, explaining how the diagnosis had changed her life. At first, she had been terrified. Every heartbeat had felt like a ticking clock. She stopped making long-term plans. She pushed friends away because she didn't want them to worry. But eventually something shifted inside her. If life could end unpredictably, Then every single day suddenly became incredibly valuable. She started doing things she had always postponed. She traveled to quiet coastal towns and watched sunrise over empty oceans. She learned to paint, even though she had never considered herself artistic. She volunteered at a children's hospital, spending afternoons reading stories to kids who were fighting battles much bigger than her own. Somewhere along the way, she stopped feeling like a victim of time. Instead, she began living more fully than most people ever dared. Elias listened carefully, realizing her story carried a quiet power. Most people spent their lives chasing things that didn't truly matter: bigger houses, higher salaries, endless distractions. Serafina had discovered something many never understood. Life was fragile, and that fragility made every moment priceless. The conversation slowly shifted from heavy truths to shared laughter. They spoke about childhood memories, embarrassing school moments, favorite books, and strange travel experiences. Elias found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't expected. There was no pressure to impress, no shallow pretending. The honesty between them had already cleared away the usual barriers. Yet beneath the warmth of the conversation, Elias felt a growing awareness inside him. This woman wasn't just interesting, she was extraordinary. As the sun began to sink lower in the sky, golden light bathed the terrace in warmth. People around them began leaving for evening plans, but neither Elias nor Serafina seemed eager to end the conversation. Finally, Serafina looked at him thoughtfully. She admitted something quietly. Every time she told someone about her condition, she prepared herself for disappointment. She expected the moment when the other person would smile politely, finish their coffee, and slowly create distance. It had happened enough times that she almost assumed it was inevitable. But Elias hadn't moved. He hadn't looked uncomfortable. If anything, he seemed more present than before. Elias felt the weight of that moment. He thought about the heartbreak he had carried for years after his previous relationship collapsed. Back then, he believed love required certainty plans, stability, predictable futures. But sitting here now, he realized something profound. Nothing in life was guaranteed anyway. Not for him. Not for anyone. Most people simply pretended it was. Serafina had removed that illusion. And strangely, it made the possibility of connection feel